this conversation a year ago, we were both meeting planners having a meeting planner conversation.
Yes.
Now we're
Yes. Okay. Oh, damn it. Okay. Ready?
Where's my recording? Do you want to hit stop and go again so you have a clean start?
Yep, I'll do that. All right. I'm going to hit pause. Hi, this is Tracy Duckworth with Thrive Meetings and Events, and welcome to day 2 of the Evolving Leadership and Workplace Culture Summit. I hope you enjoyed yesterday if you tuned in. If not, you can actually watch them on demand. And one thing to point out is that while we're doing this today and yesterday, we were actually tweeting live. Because these sessions are pre-recorded, we're actually tweeting live with the speakers under the hashtag lead culture. So make sure you should follow that hashtag while we're doing this and participate in it live and virtually at the same time. We're kicking off today with a friend of mine from Colorado who I don't even know how long we've known each other, but we just connected instantaneously a couple of years ago again. Holly Duckworth. She is the CEO of the Leadership Solutions International. She's founder of the C-Suite Network Mindful Leadership Council, a former association executive, a former meeting planner like myself. She's going to teach us how to move from chaos to calm in the workplace. And I know in the middle of this pandemic, we're probably all kind of a little chaotic, but we need to bring calm to it. So Holly, take us there.
Well, Tracy, thanks for having me. It's so fun to reconnect, and we're really a great living example of life evolves, and the more we can step into the acceptance of the change, the easier this is going to happen. If you and I had this conversation, even a year and a half or 2 years ago, I'd have been announced as I'm a meeting professional and a speaker, and you'd been announced in different ways. And there's a beauty in watching that transformation. So if you're looking out on your team right now, and you've got some people that are stressed or overwhelmed, remind them of that beauty of the transformation. We're blessed to record this in the springtime. The sun is coming out. If you're in the next hemisphere, it's becoming winter. There's a remembrance that life changes. And I think that because I know you're on day 2, and heck, you may be on a webinar Zoom meeting 42 today. I thought it would be nice to maybe start out not just talking about mindfulness, but bringing a mindful experience to your meeting. So I'm going to invite you to this experience with me, and I have with me my singing bowl. It is scientifically proven that a singing bowl changes the tone in a room. Just like if you go into a room and you've got the country music going, you have one sense of energy. If you walk in and you have jazz going, it's another sense of energy. Yep. So with a singing bowl, I'm just going to invite us to do 3 breaths, but this time put your feet on the ground, maybe uncross your legs, give yourself permission to get fully in your space, whether you're at the dining room table or a remote office. It's all good. And we're just going to, in the in-breath, just feel the good of that. And then on the out-breath, let out the stress. And we're going to just go ahead and do this together for 3 times. Let those shoulders drop. Breathe in the good. Breathe out that which no longer serves you. Tracy, in a time like this where there's just so much multitasking going on, even people are watching this, they're struggling to monotask. You might have a few windows open. I know I find myself in that case. Just finding 2 or 3 minutes periodically throughout the day that you can bring yourself back to center and focus will kind of get us out of that fight or flight mode. And if you're like, Holly, I don't have time for one more thing. There's certain things you got to do within the framework of the day. And I was talking about washing your hands before washing hands was cool. Like just when you're washing your hands, that extra 20 seconds, take a moment and wash that stress down your shoulders. Like feel it go down the drain. That's another little mindful moment thing that we can just reset ourselves from from the chaos back into a sense of support and calm.
Thank you for that, because it's really important. And I think with what we're going through with this pandemic, there's a lot more chaos in some of our lives. People are juggling, trying to teach their kids and do the work and take the dog for a walk and get in the exercise and not be able to get out of the house. So, and if they if they're still working, right, and they have job responsibilities, what are you doing with those job responsibilities as well in doing all of that? So do you feel like there's more chaos now added to our lives than there was before, or do you think it's just shifted a little bit?
Oh, that's a funny question. One of the things I talk about is beliefs. And belief 1.0 and belief 2.0, and I talk a lot about it, is done unto you as you believe. So I'm a little nervous, because if I believe there's more chaos, and I'm actually creating more chaos. But I sadly, even as I laugh, a little tear comes down my. I mean, there's no doubt there's more chaos right now in our recreating workplace environments. But I think that's why a conference like this is so important, is to give us the chance to say, what is the workplace culture we want in this time of transition, whether it's 3 months or 20, and what's that workplace culture we want to create in the renewal, again, whether that's 3 months or 28, that this is that time for that conscious conversation about, we all hurry scurry to get to this new place. Now it's May, and we need to mindfully walk through May for ourselves, our team, and for our customers.
Mindful May. I like that.
Well, I'm going to invite your guests to check out my podcast, because we're going to do a lot of fun things.
Please do.
Yeah. Everydaymindfulnessshow.com is the podcast, and we do the show live every single day. We started in March. The show it was a once a week. There's 150 episodes on everything from, how to sleep to, how to garden mindfully. I just talked to the former owner of the Phoenix Suns. I talked to the owner of Lyft Brands on how to keep yourself in the present moment right now in the midst of all of these transitions. But mindfulness in May, follow me on Twitter, and I'll share with you some of the fun stuff we have going on all month long.
That's awesome. I'm going to be doing Food Allergy Awareness Month in May, starting on Friday, and talking about how that plays into workplace culture and what we need to know about food allergies. And I know we're not eating a lot of food in the workplace, but I think it does play in. If you're sending a gift card to somebody, don't send them a gift card to a place or a gift basket that has their allergen in it, right? So understanding that. And that's just another way of being mindful of who your employees are or who your customers are, I think, as well.
So Tracy, let's go back for just a second, because I like to frame it up kind of at the beginning. For those of you who may have heard of mindfulness, or you've seen a magazine on a shelf, mindfulness is really quite simple, but it gets a little complicated for some folks. Is mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment with non-judgment. So if you're thinking, oh, I can't do it, it's a practice. It's not a perfect. And it's simply about getting yourself out of anticipatory grief or past fear. Our human nature, we tend to, especially in the meetings industry, and I think in leadership, we get so focused on, oh my gosh, I'm so bummed I didn't hit this goal, or oh my gosh, I'm so bummed I have to create this 5-year plan, that we're not fully in this moment. So I just would invite people that if you're curious about mindfulness, it's not religion, it's not dogma. I don't even think it has to be about meditation. There's formal and informal practices, but it's about honoring that right now we only have what we have, and we have enough. We have enough resources, and that's why that breath is so powerful, that opportunity to come back and wait, if I have everything I need right now to lead my workplace and lead my culture, and I come at it from that place, then I'm more empowered for the next moment and the next moment and the next moment.
I think that's really powerful, really, for especially what we're going through right now, right? Because there's all these people who are fearful of what's to come or not to come, right? Especially in the meetings industry, there's people that well, and not even just the meetings industry, a ton of people who've been furloughed for a variety of reasons, all these restaurants that are struggling, and what's going to happen to my restaurant. I think maybe their fears from before have dissipated some, right? And now they're fearful for and anticipatory for the future. But what can we do right now? And I think a lot of people who have pivoted or looking how to pivot can use that mindfulness, because what can I do today, right? How can I help somebody today and or help myself? Does that make sense?
It absolutely makes sense for me, and it comes back to a word that's kind of emerging right now in our world, which is acceptance. And I think that word, again, as a collective, maybe had a negative connotation. Oh, you're just accepting the bare minimum, you're accepting the minimum pay, you're accepting. Well, what if acceptance was a positive and it had good energy with it? That many of us are still moving through that acceptance of, oh, I have to work from home. Oh, I can't touch people. Oh, I can't go to my favorite restaurant. The quicker, the more we practice being in this moment, I accept what is in this moment. I accept that it is the nature of the universe, that business changes, life changes, family changes, that I'm going to accept this and do the best I can with it in this moment, knowing that another good moment and another good moment and another good moment. And what you visualize, you actualize, and we actually create that.
That's really cool, because it's just, and that the work that you do builds on top of each other. I mean, that's just kind of a given, right? But we don't necessarily think about it in a mindfulness way, in a mindfulness practice, and how we necessarily think about ourselves and what we're doing in those steps that we're doing. But it does, it little tiny pieces stick, right?
Yeah, one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about is, whatever the water cooler conversation looks like in your workplace culture. And that we don't have that same thing anymore. But how can you create that sense of water cooler conversation in this new way, and then go watch or look back at some of your water cooler conversation? Are you the downward spiral of, I don't have enough money, or, oh, my projects are so overwhelming, or, gosh, such and such didn't get back to my email, that you create that, and then suddenly you find yourself in a job you've been in for 15 years that you hated. Now, sadly or excitingly, depending on which side of the coin you're on, we're kind of in this little, I call it the cocoon of imaginal cells, that if you go back to that water cooler, how can you create that as a positive upward spiral of, right now, I'm just really grateful that I have a job. I'm really grateful that I have a Zoom account that allows me to connect to people. I'm really grateful that while I maybe don't have my job right now, I can donate my services to help a coworker post a blog, or whatever. I can make a mask. That I think is going to be a key part of workplace culture, is honoring and supporting each other in keeping those positive spirals. And thank God right now, some of us have good days and bad days, but we're not all having a bad day at the same time.
Right. Yeah. How using mindfulness, and especially with, managing your team from Zoom or Meet or whatever you're using it, how can anyone, not just executives, but how can anyone use mindfulness to show leadership, or to be a leader?
In my keynote speech, I often say your presence is the greatest present. And on that slide is a picture of a big birthday present. And, my name is Holly. My first job was at Hallmark. People joke, Holly, Hallmark, you're just all about the presence. But there's that double entendre of presence and your energy presence. While we're still talking on a digital medium and we can't touch, we're hardwired as humans for that sense of presence and energy. So I think right now, leading a team, no matter what size it is honoring your presence, and that's on the good days and on the not so good days, and honoring that presence in one another. And I've been doing a lot of little micro mini trainings, and some of the executives that have brought me in for these 15 or 20 minute little trainings, they've given it as a gift to their team, that I think right now we need to look at the cultural norm of what do we punish in our organizations and what do we reward in them, and how do we reward them. It used to be easy. Let's go back to the water cooler, let's get a Starbucks card, let's this or that. We need to recognize our presence as a present, whether we're in the kids' bedroom or in the kitchen, and give group praise when appropriate, give one-on-one praise, and don't be afraid to pick up the old school phone. Believe it or not, it still works. One of the things that I did for my team, and I call my extended team, my clients this week, is I sent 150 handwritten cards, like handwritten cards. And I've never gotten more texts and tweets and email. I mean, everybody has their preferred language, but that presence for them was a present, and their presence back to me was a present. And I'm telling you, these daily live YouTube and Facebook on the Everyday Mindfulness show, it's your presence.
Yeah.
And it's not always not easy to do, but look at your corporate culture and say, do we reward people for their presence? And I'm not talking about giving them a reward for just showing up, but right now maybe there is something about just showing up, you know, and we laugh. We as we were preparing this show, like we talked yesterday, you had John Chen on, like there is a place in the workplace now for having a little bit of fun and bringing your personal self, because we used to say you can't bring your whole self to work. Well, now that norm is evolving, and as a culture, how can we consciously create that and talk through that together?
Well, and we are bringing our whole selves to work, and you've got kids running around, and we have to be accepting of that. And we were talking about that too, is like there's a new acceptance of, hey, I didn't know that Tracy had 5 kids, or, she doesn't talk about that. And you're learning something new about somebody that you really didn't know. And I think this is also be giving us an opportunity to be more mindful of what we don't know about people, what was that you said to me before? It was hidden, or, what was the word? It begins with an A. Accidental, oh my goodness, accidental assumptions that we have of people, or just of things, right? And, you have this assumption of me, and I don't have 5 kids, by the way. I've never had a kid, but these assumptions that you make of somebody who just walks by you in the office that you've never talked about, but now you're on a Zoom call and you're seeing their background. And maybe they don't have the Zoom background, but they're showing you their kitchen and their house. And so.
Well, Tracy, let's unpack that a little bit, because I've had a couple experiences that might support people thinking through this, which is workplace culture in terms of, are you on video? Are you not on video? When are you? When aren't you? Are you expected to be in full hair and makeup, or are you not? There's, as a mindfulness expert, I'm not going to say there's a right or wrong, but as a workplace, you want to pause and have a leadership conversation. And I'm not saying the top comes down and mandates these. I'm saying, can we have a co-creative town hall that starts to explore that? I had a client, again, hire me, Fortune 500, huge foreign financial services company, and they hired me for a program called Social Wellness.
Okay.
Social Wellness. I reframed up a beautiful hour-long Zoom chat, and I've got the music going, and we start, and we're 3 minutes in, and I say, please type in the chat box one word that is your intention for this session. Intention being, how will you put your energy in motion? Nothing. Well, that's interesting. So I asked the question again. Bless whoever's heart it was on the other end of the phone, which wasn't the meeting planner, took themselves off mute and said, our company policy is we're not allowed to use chat boxes. I had 57 more minutes of a social wellness program. None of them did video, and they really were less than ideal on Zoom. So workplace culture, we know what our workplace culture is face to face. How can we create thoughts, beliefs, actions, and norms around how we're going to communicate? I really do think by June or July, there's going to be some cultural norms on how many how many educational webinars can you sit on all day long?
Yeah.
That's perfectly okay. But really, those are a couple that I assumed everybody would be on video. I assumed
Right.
everybody would use the chat box. So that kind of that accidental assumption thing can do one of two things. It can create a barrier, or it can create a bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And there's been no greater time, I think, for us to have that grace of the navigating awkward question. And if you watch the Everyday Mindfulness lives, every day in the month of April, we did an affirmation. In the month of May, we're going to have an inspirational quote and a story. So one of the days was, I am creative. And I brought up the paint and the color crayons, and I actually brought up a garbage bag, and I said, you know what, some heroes need to wear a cape, and I need a cape, and I put the garbage bag on like a cape. And it's just to be in this space of acceptance and forgiveness, and we're all gonna move through this differently. But those norms and those accidental assumptions, most people will assume I'm a pretty serious person. Ask the question, throw it out there. You'll be surprised what you can learn and do with it. I have a program, I actually had it on my notes, called Visionary Questions. Right now, nobody knows the answer to anything.
They don't.
So create that and lead from wherever you are, because you're never going to get this opportunity to have that state of grace and forgiveness and play that you've ever had before. And yeah, we're going to mess some stuff up, and it's going to be a little messy. Thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. They're easy sentences. Thank you, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And that's going to create safer, I think, more authentic, caring organizations in the future when we go back, however that looks.
All right. So before we go to the next question, and I love all that. So based on what Holly just said, because we are tweeting live right now, why don't you, anybody who's got a great idea or something creative that they've done on a Zoom call, or an idea they came up with that they would never have presented before, but now have, share it on Twitter with us. We're live with the hashtag Lead Culture. Holly would love to, and I would love to see what you're doing and how you're doing this, and maybe how you're using mindfulness in the workplace right now as, you know, as a person who's just working from home. So, well,
and on the flip side of that,
yeah.
Tracy, you know, I love a good question. So
Yeah.
if you have a question about mindfulness, or I can't do it because of this, or I'm not sure about this, Holly, throw those things out too, and we'll be sure to answer them.
Yeah. And I love, because we're now multitasking. Listen to us, but tweet to us as well, because we do want to make this as interactive as possible, you know, with the pre-recorded video. But we're here for you for that matter. What have you seen? How are companies using mindfulness in the companies that you were working with before, let's say pre-COVID-19, current, you know, in the presence, which mindfulness is, and then how are they looking forward of how they're going to use it?
You know, it's a really great question. I have this thing, and we'll put it in the tweet chat for a digital download. It's, you know, 7 practices to be a mindful leader. And, you know, those 7, that first one is that centering, like we did at the beginning. And I think people were just really starting to kind of bridge their personal practice into a workplace practice. That, you know, the mindfulness rooms, the meditation rooms in the workplace were becoming a thing. I think we talked early on about walking meetings and that type of thing. So that's why mindfulness is such a perfect time to be starting the Mindful Leadership Council. People are just picking it up more and more. Mindful use of technology. You know, there's a time and a place for your phone. Are you using your phone all the time? There's a time and a place for an app. And I tend to be one that I think you can be mindful on your phone. You can, you know, run the meditation apps or run the music, or I've got Insight Timer. All of my shows are on Insight Timer. But just being aware of how much time are we spending on technology. This one I think is going to come back absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt more than we've ever done it before. It's called Creating a Vision.
Okay.
some people right now, baby between, oh, I've lost my mind. I have no vision. I can't even see what I'm going to have for dinner.
Right.
But I think if we're going to create leadership and workplace cultures right now, we might have to vision almost in 3 dimensions: the good plan, the not so good plan, and the, ooh, this could be really ugly plan. If X happens in the next 6 to 9 months, then I'm going to do Y. If Z happens and it's 18 to 24 months, I'm going to do this, and then if it's beyond, I'm going to do this. And I'm trying to be as general as possible, because I want mindful, presence-filled leaders right now to recognize the microclimates that we're in. I was actually a meteorology major. Not a lot of people know that. I was a weather forecast.
I did not know that.
And there's an energy micro right now that we're experiencing. And just because Tampa has their restaurants open, Texas may not. How Vancouver, Canada is versus Guadalajara. That creating that A and that B and that C plan based on your unique geography, your unique customer. That's I'm going to practice the presence in this moment and do the best I can in this moment for plan A, plan B, and plan C. And it used to be, plan A was good enough.
Right.
I create a vision with that intersection of what I call head and heart. The best data we got and the best of our intuition. And those mindful leaders who cultivate, and practice their intuition and inspire that intuition with their teams, I think will be able to refine A, B, and C and then activate them more quickly. The power now is in the discovery, the question, and that ability to pivot quickly.
Well, and I don't know why this just popped into my head, but did you see the story of the woman who is a nurse, and she and her husband's an engineer, and they were having dinner at the end of the day? This is during COVID, and she was talking to him about the masks, and there was no way to clean them, and they were running out of supplies of them. And her husband's like, well, 5 years ago, we did this thing on how to clean these masks. And the two of them sat down there and jotted on a piece of paper and worked it all out. And now there are these big trucks or the cargo things that are now being delivered all over the country to clean these masks. Just from being present in that moment at dinner with each other, listening to each other about their days and their experiences, that it created a solution. And that was just creative.
I did see that. And I think that because we've come from different industries and been in the same industry, and now we're kind of back into different but the same.
Right.
This is a time to mindfully pick your relationships and create those safe spaces to explore. That's part of what the Mindful Leadership Council is about, is how do we bring, we used to say, diversity, and it meant something, and now it means something different. And now I think we magnify that something different, and that something different is that diversity of thought. If every week you had just a coffee chat or a quick huddle or whatever around a problem that's facing your business, and you bring in, the experts on your team, but then you bring an expert in sports or media or something totally, like, you think this is off the wall, into the conversation, they're going to look at it with just that different angle. And that is going to create that breakthrough that we need.
My friend, Melissa, used to make fun of me because I've been reading Fast Company magazine for 20 years now. And I don't even remember when it was launched, but I loved reading it because I would read these articles on different industries and what they were doing creative. I'm like, oh my God, I could totally use that idea in one of my meetings, or how can I apply that? Or reading stuff, I rip out articles and I'm like, Holly, this will be really good for you. Here's the link to this article, or here's a picture of this article that I just took, and send it to you, because that's things that the conversations that you have with people trigger, and then things that you read or watch trigger things. And how can you do that? How can you share that and inspire somebody to do something different with their business or their life because of something that you can mindfully thought of them?
And that's a good workplace strategy tip for the listeners, is rewarding the curiosity and the discovery. Maybe instead of having a brainstorming session, have a brain question session. Everybody has a safety in the questions that for a long time, since many of us were little kids, our society consciousness is read the book, have the answer, read the book, fill out the Scantron, read the book, do the test, have the right answer. That there may be a little bit of massaging your culture right now to lead different. He'll talk I'll lead different. Might have to pull that one out too. That around rewarding and celebrating those questions, because what I know is that creating a vision. That I actually have a visioning program. It's 6 questions, and we do visioning and meditation and play, and we frame it up into a strategic retreat. Those questions that may seem totally off the wall and not fit ended up being the most powerful things. I had an organization a couple of years ago that had a workplace, a culture breakthrough, that we did the visioning, and it came back. We want our organization to feel like warm laundry. Warm laundry. You think, what does that have to do with business? And then the group, they collectively shared, it smells like Downy fabric softener. It's the warm towels. Okay, well, what's the warm towel in our organization? Well, I feel warm when I visit a concierge. This was, some sort of industry association. Okay, so what if we created a concierge network for our members so that when they come to a meeting, instead of walking into a cold ballroom and they don't know where to go, they've got the warm laundry feeling. And then, what happens when you pull the laundry out? You get the little dryer sheet. Well, what's the dryer sheet? Before they leave, they got the little note. So, I mean, this is a really fun time as leaders to utilize these mindful practices. Center yourself, maybe take a little time away from your tech and create a vision and play with that vision.
That's so fun. I would never have put that description into something, but a warm towel is so pleasing and so comforting, when you take it out and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to use this, or a warm blanket, anything like that.
That came from just that the work. We created a space of it's safe, and right now when people are whipped up and in fear, the more safety that you can have, and gratitude for the person who's willing. If that person, you used it, well, remember, we have this place to clean masks,
right. Yeah. Well, it also makes me think of vision boards, that people do and things like that. I mean, that might be a fun way too. It's like, okay, so go take all the magazines or the newspapers or whatever you have around your house and create a vision board of what you think the company should be or this project should be, and what really cool ideas might come from that as well. And looking at that completely different, because it makes you think of things differently. There's a video I posted today on LinkedIn. Somebody friended me on Facebook, and I'm like, I don't know who this person is. So I scrolled down their feed, and I found this article on this photographer who gave his son his old camera, and it wasn't an old camera, but his son is 2 years old and 2 feet tall, right? And he posted the pictures that his son took. And I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, I love this for 2 reasons. I'm like, one, it's a little kid learning how to use a gadget that he didn't know how to use. And this is the dream. This is what he got out of it, right? But how can you also take that process? Because you're looking at, instead of his dad taking a picture of above the table, you've got this 2-foot person taking a picture from below the table. So how can you take looking through that lens differently and be present in that moment of that time, and what did that kid see differently that you can now use for whatever you are, for who you are and what you do. So I thought that was another way.
You said something a little bit ago, and you I don't know why this is popping in, and you have to say that the more, as leaders, mindful leaders today, when you hear that still small voice, that little nudge, or however it comes through for you, being willing to write it down or speak it or say it, that's where those fun breakthroughs are going to come from. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because sometimes get that, but we don't necessarily act on it. And sometimes we get it and it's not even for us.
Right.
Like, if we're sitting in a meeting of 6 people and, the warm laundry thing came out, that might've come out of the communications committee, but it was a membership idea. But because they spoke it, then they could play with that clay,
Mm-hmm.
play together.
So, let's see, what next question do I want to ask you about mindfulness? As an entrepreneur, I mean, you're a former association executive, you're a former meeting planner, one of the most top 5 stressful jobs in the world, right? And right now it's probably up there, it's maintaining its status, which is not a good thing. And now you're an entrepreneur. How do you, and a business owner, so how do you take mindfulness, and how can, whether you're a CEO of a Fortune 500 company or the founder of a company that has 3 employees, how do you maintain peace and mindfulness in your daily lives, in general, and then with this chaotic coronavirus that we've got? That was a long, very tangible question.
This conference is framed about, workplace and leadership culture. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to be a part of it, because everything that we do in the workplace is simply a reflection of what's happening within us. And the more leaders that I get to talk to, they have some sort of quiet practice, creative practice, silence practice, connection practice. And so I would say, for those of us that are reinventing our daily habits, finding that tool that works for you to create self-care space, and then utilizing that self-care to support your teams in self-care is really, really critical. And that all that fanciness comes back down to awareness and listening, mindfulness, present moment listening. Take time every day to listen to yourself, for yourself, by yourself, as yourself, for self-care. And then as you refine that practice, then use those same skills in your workplace, whether your team is, or small or large, that listening. And we were talking before this, that it's listening with our ears, but it's also listening with our eyes. And I always say, put your ears on your heart. It's also listening with your heart. When you had that little, I don't know why this is coming in, but we got to talk about it. That was, you were listening to, you had your ears on your heart. Something wanted to come through for you. And I know there's Holly, I don't have time, blah, blah, blah. There's just so much going on. There's that 2 minutes when you wash your hands. That's that 2 minutes when you're brushing your teeth in the morning. If you still get to do some sort of driving commute, it's that stop at the stop sign. Just stop that extra 10 seconds. What is mine to do? How can I find that space? I think in this, if you want to find a place of calm in the chaos, it's just stilling yourself enough to listen. People tell me all the time, it's one of the top mindful myths. I can't meditate, I've got the monkey mind. Meditation, mindfulness isn't about turning off that monkey mind. It's just about, slowing it, stilling it, and giving yourself permission to just, I say, give it a cookie, put it on a shelf, and just keep coming back to that still small voice in you that was inspired to start the company or take the job, and allow yourself to lean into that a little bit more and rekindle your passion for it.
That's very cool. All right, something popped into my head and then the other thing popped out of my head. So, what was that question? Dang it. I'm glad we're recording this, but we're also, it's kind of live at the same time. How can we help our team members think about this, or think about this going forward, being mindful, not just in their current present state, but going forward? And then before I forget, the question is, are there statistics and data? Because you did your music bowl at the beginning, which is awesome. And by the way, everybody, before I forget, lead culture, hashtag lead culture on Twitter, and Holly will answer your questions and share your ideas with us too. But has mindfulness, is there data showing that mindful leaders help change culture or help grow businesses? Let's talk that question.
Absolutely. Harvard, Forbes, Newsweek, all of the major organizations are following mindfulness now. I follow very closely the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Institute, which is the program founded by John Kabat-Zinn at UMass. It's research. What's cool about it is it's research both in the positive psychology space, but it's also research in the self-help space and research in the business space. And study after study continues to show this integration of the science of mindfulness and the head and the heart data. I actually work a lot with an organization called the Heart Math Institute, and they have scientifically proven that your heart actually thinks faster than your brain.
Really?
Yes, it is actually, if you
wow.
go to Heart Math Institute and you do all the studies, they put the pictures in front of you and the heads orb things, and they can actually show that your heart will respond to the picture of the stressor before your brain was. Your heart actually runs your body. So that's why, as we step into a mindful leadership practice, just before you go to that quick Zoom meeting, okay, let me center back into my heart and have the conversation. More research every single day is coming out on this topic. That was what I was going to do, Tracy. Sorry to throw you off. While we have folks and we're wrapping up, I want to invite you to use the Twitter, the hashtag lead culture. And one of the mindful practices that you can switch up every day and you can do with your teams is this idea of setting an intention.
Okay.
You're having your cup of coffee in the morning, you're driving to work, however your day evolves. Ask yourself, how am I going to be today? How am I going to put my energy in motion today? We get so focused, especially in the meeting planning leading world. Do. What are you going to be today? And tweet us your one word. Are you going to be happy, joyful, overwhelmed, exhausted, excited? And again, back to that water cooler conversation. Are you going to be the downward energy spiral today? Or are you going to be that upward energy spiral? So that's another, research-based, proven. If you take a moment every day to figure out how you're going to set your energy in motion, what you think about, you bring about, and you bring about more of that.
I love that. I mean, and there's a friend who said she had her affirmations like all over her bathroom wall on Post-it notes. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so kooky. I can't do that. But it helps you be you and helps you to find your day and the belief in you, right? I mean, it helps reinforce that because you said those little tiny pieces stick, or I said stick, but those little tiny affirmations help build up who you are and what you believe in yourself and or your project.
Well, I smile because I get this a lot, and I can't do that. You're doing it anyway. But our natural, accidental human consciousness default is, I'm not enough. I did a bad job. I missed the call. La 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 la. By putting the Post-it note or using your screensaver with an affirmation, you're wiring what you're doing already. But instead of it being a negative, it's a positive. So I invite people all the time, when you catch yourself, oh my God, I'm so exhausted. There's an E. Take that letter E of exhausted and go, okay, do I really want to be exhausted? No. Okay, well then what's a positive word we can do with E? I'm energized. That, with your team, if you're listening to somebody ears on heart and you hear them, I'm really frustrated right now. I'm frustrated too because I don't want to be on this call. But let's use that as a tool to get, okay, frustrated. Well, what's something we would rather have instead? I'd rather have flexibility. I'd rather have fun. And just, I am flexible. I am fun, and support each other in the gentle calling each other out when we're on the downward spiral, and the gratitude to lift each other up.
And that just completely can change a workplace culture. That's amazing.
you do it over and
Yeah.
over and over again. And right now it is from that place of grace. I've made mistakes, Tracy, you've made mistakes. You know, we can confess now. We recorded this thing 30 minutes in and realized we hadn't hit the record button. Now
Yes.
that was an opportunity for choosing mindfulness, stress, overwhelm. Oh my gosh, or mindfulness. Wait a second, there's something better that's going to come out of this conversation by stopping and hitting record. So this is that time now to ask, ask, who do I want to be in this time, and how's my energy showing up, and asking visionary questions. And we'll make sure to tweet out that mindful leader mini poster. People can download it. It's my gift. It's got all 7 of them, to just practice. It's not a perfect, it's a practice. And tweet me, email me if I can support you.
Okay, and then what is your Twitter hashtag or Twitter
I'm
handle?
I'm at H Duckworth.
H Duckworth. Okay, awesome. And are you on any other social media that you're sharing these things? And what's the podcast? Where do we find the podcast?
Yeah, it's so funny. I teach mindfulness. Practice the presence in the moment. You can't be everywhere all the time. My social media team does a great job. Honestly, I think I'm on everything now. My preferred communication tools are of course, I've got LinkedIn profile. It's a great place to catch me. I have a Facebook professional page, Holly Duckworth Leadership. There is an Instagram out there. It's probably a Holly Duckworth too. But email still works. Holly at Leadership Solutions, INTL. All of my books are on Amazon. I just released a new book. It's called Everyday Mindfulness for the C-Suite Executive. It's $4.99. It's 30 days of setting an intention and a mindfulness practice. So just find something little and try it. And if you like it, try it again. And if you don't like it, try something else.
That's awesome. And just one quick thought. Can all of this work on your kids? I don't have any kids. You don't have any kids, but for the listeners that have kids, can this mindfulness work on them?
Believe it or not, there is a massive amount of scientific data and research that there is actually an organization called mindfulschools.org that I'm looking to partnership with, that actually the kids are better at it in a lot of cases than we are.
Wow, that's cool.
They're utilizing it more and more in the schools. Since you brought it up, I don't want to give away too many things on the show, but we'll tweet it out. At the beginning of this pandemic, my heart was just broken open, and I wrote a book called The Mindful Leader Guide, and it's adult coloring mandala for every letter of the alphabet, and I gave those away for free. So if people want to download them, I think we actually talked about maybe even integrating them into some of the work that you do.
Yes.
hollyduckworth.com /mandala-coloring. Pick a word, your intention for the day, maybe your company logo. I've got hope that I colored in my office window. My downstairs has the word love. We'll make sure to get that in the Twitter stream for people as a resource, and do it with your kids. Kids of every age. I think it's scientifically proven that the more we color, the more we create those creative spaces in our brain.
Thank you, Holly.
You're so welcome.
So good. And I'm glad we stopped and we didn't record, because I got to spend an extra 30 minutes with you.
Yes, it did. It's it's powerful times right now.
It is.
And I would just invite you, wherever you're leading from, whatever you're doing, to remember that mindfulness is just awareness. You have every right to feel what you feel, to see what you see, to do what you do, and ask for support, ask for help when you need it. Tracy's here, I'm here, the entire support team on this conference is there, and those people who are vulnerable enough to ask are going to be the ones who catapult to great levels of success in their workplaces and their cultures on the other side.
That's fantastic. Thank you. So this is the first session today of the Evolving Leadership and Workplace Culture Summit. Go take a potty break, get a glass of water, refresh. The next one will come on top of the hour, and follow on Twitter with the hashtag Lead Culture. And you can chat with all of the speakers throughout the day and see what was chatted about yesterday. Thanks.